everybody, Garrett Rosendahl, 5'2" Fence and Dirt. I am in the cab of my SVL 97-2. I bought this machine new from Bingham, Prescott Valley, 10 or 11 days ago. And we are at 47.3 hours on it. So I wanted to give my first impressions of this machine. About 47 hours worth of impressions. I'm the only one who's put the hours on this machine. I've gotten familiar with it and kind of noticed some quirks and oddities with it. And so I bought this machine with an 80-inch tooth bucket. It's wide track, high flow, factory enclosed cab, which I'll close this so it's a little quieter. Stereo, they included the stereo for me, which was super nice at no cost. And then I bought a Kubota 6-way dozer blade with it. So those are the attachments. I have forks and stuff for all my other track loaders and such. But the power on this, because I have a 75-3, the power on this thing is impressive. Just, what is it, 23 horsepower difference really makes a big difference in your drive, like forward motion. This machine is significantly slower in speed than the 75-3, and I'm not certain, but I believe the 75-3 might have some form of suspension other than the seat, because it rides way smoother than this. And from what I understand, the Dash 3 of this machine, which is out now, it just hasn't hit the lots up here. The Dash 3 of this machine has is supposed to ride a little better because it's rough. It's rough. It's a big machine. You can tell it means business, and it rides like a bigger machine. But so a couple of things I've noticed is this has, I think they're 17-inch wide tracks or thereabout. Vastly different from the narrower tracks on that 75-3. So speed, the overall turning of it is just, it just makes the 75-3 feel like a little go-kart. But so like I said, I'm 47 hours in. This thing has regenerated about every 12 hours, give or take an hour or two. So I'm coming up to my 4th regen here pretty quick. I don't know if that's typical, but it does regenerate a lot. As you may know, this machine uses diesel exhaust fluid. I have 1 bar on the gauge until it's empty. So I think it would be safe to say at the rate in which I'm using this machine, about every 50 hours I'm going to have to fill this thing with diesel exhaust fluid. If it takes a full container, I bought a container yesterday, it was $35. This is the only thing I have that has diesel exhaust fluid, so I don't know what the going rate for it is. I could probably find it cheaper, but at 50 hours a tank, it's definitely something that I've incorporated into the overall operating cost and the cost that I charge the customers for this machine, because that's 70 cents an hour in diesel exhaust fluid. So there's that. The only 2 issues I've had with this machine is, and it wasn't, I guess I don't know what the shipping procedure or receiving side of one of these machines is, but this machine came out of Bingham, Mesa, I believe, and at 20 hours, maybe between 18 and 20 hours, the bolts holding the cab down, one of the bushings and rubber things hit me in the boot, and looked over, and it had coming off of the front bolt that secures the cab down to keep it from pivoting up for service. It was, the bushing had fallen out because it had worked itself loose. And then so I checked the other one, it was also loose. So I had to tighten those up. Not a huge deal. Everything else seems to be mostly tight. And then the second issue I had is kind of twofold. So at about 24 hours, I have a photo of it, but 24 hours, I noticed that the diesel exhaust fluid door had some white crystallization around it, indicative that there was a diesel exhaust fluid leak around the fill neck or something of the sort, because it was on the outside of my machine and it had crystallized. So I opened the door, and to my surprise, the diesel exhaust fluid cap was laying there, not on the filler neck. It was as if someone had just put it in there and shut the door. Now I don't think that's what happened, but I bought the machine with a full tank of diesel exhaust fluid. There was no need for me to open it. It's pretty self-explanatory that you use the key to open the diesel exhaust fluid door, and then it's a locking cap on the diesel exhaust fluid inside. So there's really no need for me to inspect it. So I hadn't opened the door before that point, and then I opened it, and the cap is laying there. So it was dusty. It frustrated me because now there was very obvious contaminants in the fill neck of the diesel exhaust fluid tank, because I had been running the machine under the impression that the cap was on. And so I get the cap on there, and you cannot tighten it. You tighten it until you can't twist it anymore, but it will not get to the set of detents cut into the fill neck where the male ears of the fill cap will lock into place, so that doesn't happen. So about 4 hours later, that cap had broken loose again. So I cranked the snot out of it and still was not able to get it in. So that was it. That was the issue with the diesel exhaust cap. So I've been keeping an eye on that. The diesel exhaust fluid cap, I should say. I've been keeping an eye on that. But at the same time, I noticed that my diesel cap was missing. And so I have one cap that's off. I have another cap that's completely missing. I walked the site where I was working, which was at my own place, and it was nowhere to be found. So I run into the dealership, buy a cap, $120, put the new cap on there, crank it until I can't get it any tighter, then lock it, and then once you lock it, it free spins. Well, you can't get it any tighter, and it's free spinning. It should be all right. Put a couple tanks of diesel in it. Yesterday, at about 40 hours on the machine, I get out of the machine, and the freaking cap is gone again. So I'm out here on the house pad. I start walking it, and sure enough, I find my cap crammed into the soil, busted up, fallen off, and I ran over it. So I go in and buy another cap. Well, actually, I didn't buy it. The dealership comped me for it. And I should note that Bingham of Preston Valley also comped me the first service on this machine for my issue with the diesel exhaust fluid cap. So, go and get a new cap. This cap actually goes all the way into the detent. So I'm confident that this diesel cap will not fall off. I don't know if my filler neck specs are too tight where they roll it over. I don't know if that's too tight or I had a bad batch of caps. But third cap, and it finally goes on to where it's supposed to. At this point in time, the diesel exhaust fluid cap still does not go on where it's supposed to. And I'm going to have to keep keeping an eye on that. Perhaps it'll wear in to the point where it finally goes to the female side of the fill neck, and it can click into place. Those are the two issues I've had with this machine. Overall, I'm very happy with it. Going from my first new Kubota machine was a SVL SSV. It was a wheeled machine, 65-2. So same generation as this 97-2. Going back from the 75, which I still have the 75-3. The guys, it's their machine to use on their projects. going from a dash 2 or from a dash 3 to a dash 2, I miss the information and the settings available on the dash 3. I love the simplicity of this machine though, because I have a key again. There's two things I hate about the new machines, and this is across the board. I hate not having a key to turn it on. I really prefer to have a key to just reach in and turn it on. And I'm sick of locking fuel caps. So sick of it. The 75-3 has a non-locking fuel cap, and I really enjoy that. But yeah, that's my gripe about the direction of these machines. I'm tired of passcodes. I'm tired of buttons. I really just like the key to turn it on. But that's really it in terms of dash 3 to dash 2. Dash 2 rides rougher than that dash 3 and less functions inside, but go ahead.
I need to get the fuel cap off of here. I don't have a key.
I think I threw one in maybe look in the little section behind the seat up there by the window. I couldn't have planned that any better. I don't know if you can hear the radio, but Dave running the E40 today, radioed because he needed a key he needed to fuel the E40 and then needed a key to unlock the gas cap, and couldn't find it because I'd put it in a different spot. It'd just be so much simpler. And the problem with like the key on that E40 is that you can't, there's no option to unlock the gas cap and then leave it unlocked and just use it as a regular gas cap. You need to have the key. So that's my little rant about the direction of those features. I know they seem minuscule, but something about just being able to reach into a cab and crank on a machine, which you can do with this 97, and I really like that. What I also like about the 97 is the climate control is really comfortable. It's obviously snowy and cold out. It's mostly dry. I have one seal on this window that kind of lets some water in that I'm going to address, but otherwise it's really great. I will probably be upgrading to a more aggressive track here pretty shortly. This machine, like I said, has a ton of power, but I'm having a hard time getting the power to the ground, especially once I get it in either soft material or just the slightest little bit of moisture in the ground. Even on just dry soft material, if I could hook up with the machine, I would be able to move a lot more dirt because it's not short on power. And then the only thing I wish they had changed on it, well, two things I wish they had changed. There's the fuel cap, but it's also the fuel neck angle. I wish the neck was a little steeper on it. And the screens on the Kubotas, Bobcats don't have, at least the Bobcats I've had, don't have screens inside the fill neck. The Bobcat screens are so fine that you can't put just a fuel nozzle in the machine because it kicks the auto shutoff on, and that drives me nuts. I have to pull the screen out, and it's one more thing that you got to pull out, and you have this like screen dripping in diesel fuel that you got to set on your track, and then you can fill up the machine. But if they would steepen the neck on this, if they added suspension to this machine, which I think they might have already in the 97-3, and then I lost my train of thought on what they if they would make this compatible with a counterweight set. You cannot get a counterweight set from factory counterweight set on this machine, and I really wish they would add that, because a little more weight on this machine, a more aggressive track, and this thing, you can use all the available power. You're not losing it to traction, or losing your power to lack of traction. And like, I've put more wear on 50 hours on this machine than I have ever in 50 hours of running a piece of equipment, because you just lose traction and it spins so quick. But that's it. I really, really like this machine. It's a machine I can definitely see us running to its max service life for us. As always, I'm super appreciative of being equipment at Prescott Valley. They treat me so well, and they've worked with me on the little fill cap issues, and yeah, they're fantastic, and they treat me really good. So if you're in the northern Arizona or just Arizona area, Jesse over at Bingham Equipment and the service guys over there have been really great and have treated me really well. I bought 8 pieces of equipment with them now. This is the latest one. And yeah, if you're looking at a 97 size machine, I know the Dash 3s are coming out. From what I understand, you're going to get a better deal on the Dash 2 here pretty soon, especially once the 97 Dash 3s start hitting the lot. I have no experience with the 97 Dash 3, just the 75 Dash 3, which I think has a lot of the same features of the new 97 Dash 3. But overall, an absolute workhorse, great machine, pretty fuel efficient for its size. Honestly, I think it uses a little less fuel than my 75 Dash 3, and it's really great. So that's my 50-hour impression / review of this machine. Those are the quirks and the problems I've had with it, which are very minor, and I will update you again at 100 hours on this machine, which should take about another 10 or 11 days. We're busy right now, so super blessed for the work, and thank you guys for watching. Please consider subscribing. We'd really love some feedback, and then give us a thumbs up if you don't mind. I will see you on the next video.